This one's chaos. I don't even know where to start. There are news items of material significance breaking as at the 31st of the 5th, 2024. First among which, we need to talk about Max Verstappen, right? Because all of this courtesy of Marc Priestley, the F1 Elvis YouTube channel. And again, listen, all journalistic publications are created equally, but some are more equal than others. I tend to trust the F1 insiders, the likes of Peter Windsor, the likes of Ross Broad. And if you hear news from these type of guys, you can trust it. And Marc Priestley, I would slot in right alongside these guys and girls. He was at Monaco working broadcasting jobs this weekend past, and he would have talked to some of his old mates, bearing in mind this chap used to work alongside Fernando El Plan Alonso and Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton at McLaren back in the day, 2007 settings. So if any dude would be connected still, courtesy of his old mates and colleagues, Marc Priestley would be that chap, right? And he's talked a couple of things on his YouTube channel. Again, Marc Priestley, F1 Elvis, first among which Williams. He's saying that Williams actually fancy their chances of doing two things. Firstly, competing in 2028. Secondly, signing imminently a very notable driver. Now, we've heard Carlos Sainz is in advanced negotiations with them, potentially a $15 million contract deal on the table, courtesy of James Vowles. But that's interesting, right? Things change very quickly in F1. I, for one, would not have Williams doing anything material worthy of note within the next couple of years. As soon as 2028, you're having a laugh. Marc Priestley suggests otherwise, however. And that, ladies and gents, is chaos. Williams returning to form. Frank Williams, indeed, would be happy. His daughter, Claire, absolutely too. James Vowles is a brilliant team principal, a brilliant F1 mind. I've been massively impressed with him. I only say that to say this: if anybody's capable of taking Williams back to the top step of the podium, please see 1992-93, courtesy of Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost. Then it would be one James Vowles, and Marc Priestley seems to think so. Chaos. And again, they fancy their chances because they have a Mercedes power unit that apparently is a market leader again. Please see split turbo settings 2014. This is chaos, ladies and gents. Are we saying that in 2026 that Mercedes might have a durable competitive courtesy of their power unit? Well, does that stack up? Does that pass the smell test if we're just talking about power units? And again, 2014 was the time when they managed to steal the march on the rest, courtesy of their split turbos. I don't know, maybe. And of course, Williams have that engine. Marc Priestley says that the rumour mill is dictating that they may have the upper hand. And again, versus the competition, if you're talking Red Bull as the principals, Red Bull don't have that legacy knowledge. They can't tap into the same, that the breadth and depth as far as power units and engines is much more substantial over at the boys and girls at Brackley and Brixworth, is it not? Similar if we're talking about Maranello. And so Marc Priestley, courtesy of his insider contacts, is predicting that some of that gap is going to close. And again, Red Bull still have the upper hand. We speculated on this channel that there is convergence. McLaren and Scuderia Ferrari are indeed coming. But between now and 2028, courtesy of the new rules that are being instituted in 2026 and this perceived power deficit that Red Bull have, courtesy of their Ford power unit as versus Mercedes, is noteworthy. Williams have that. Expect to see an improvement if your name is Marc Priestley and indeed you are an insider, and courtesy of that. And again, extending from this perceived power unit advantage, the rumour per Marc Priestley F1 Elvis on YouTube is that Max Verstappen is having some serious considerations, second thoughts even, about staying with Red Bull past 2025. Absolutely, he will be there next year. What's the point? Still, they have durable competitive advantage, notwithstanding the kangarooing and the very temperamental suspension setup that lacks even lateral sensitivity. Yeah, and still, when we get to Spa, don't think for a second that Red Bull won't have the quickest machine. It will be getting closer, but Max isn't incentivized to move just yet. But 2025 is not the question around Max Verstappen. 2026 is. Can Toto, the boy who cried wolf, tempt Max Verstappen over to the Silver Arrows team, courtesy of this power unit advantage? That's the negotiating tool. That's the pinch point and potentially the deal breaker. If we're talking about Max Verstappen, 3 soon to be 4-time champion, staying on at the balls that are red past next year. Oh, the humanity. This, peddlers, is real. This is absolutely a real thing. And I didn't think it was. Max Verstappen in Mercedes overalls. Are you having a laugh? A black swan, if ever I've seen it. I can't even imagine it. I can't even perceive of it. Max Verstappen in Mercedes overalls. Team principal Toto Wolff alongside George Russell of Kingsley Norfolk. Jay, what are we doing? This is bonkers. It's a real thing. I'm not saying that he's leaving yet, but that they're having conversations is absolutely a thing. Can't argue against it. Marc Priestley, courtesy of his insiders, all of whom probably are still working in and for F1 teams. That's what they're saying. And then finally, let's talk about this Adrian Newey. And again, courtesy of the guy. What's going on, Wolfer? Mate, we're going for it. I'm trying to leverage a bit of iambic pentameter and become overly verbose as our man William Shakespeare was. You know what I mean? It does make sense, doesn't it, Leroy? That he's considering it. Blimey. Go on then, finally. Adrian Neweyville. Right. Hitherto, I thought that the most likely outcome as far as Adrian Newey's destination would be McLaren, the papaya-coloured car, courtesy of Zach Brown, Andrea Stella, Lando Norris et al. However, it's getting techie over here because Marc Priestley implies, per his contacts in the F1 paddock this weekend past at Monaco, that it may have already been signed. Adrian Newey's contract with Scuderia Ferrari. Oh, the humanity. Already signed, potentially. And not long signed. It's not as if the ink on the Adrian Newey Ferrari contract has long dried, because he's saying that that might have happened over this race weekend at Monaco. In fact, what are we doing? Oh, the humanity. Frederick Vasseur is downplaying the importance of Adrian Newey's having left Red Bull, and maybe the timing of that Fred Vasseur soundbite is significant. Are these guys trying to tell us something? Has he signed per Marc Priestley and his insider contacts this weekend? That's bonkers. Then again, I thought that Eddie Jordan had leaked it right. You remember at that Oyster Yacht press conference when Eddie Jordan said, you know what? When we get our next contract from Zach Brown or whoever else, I thought that was Eddie Jordan subconsciously leaking Adrian Newey's next move. Of course, he's Adrian Newey's manager in inverted commas. So if anybody would know, then he would know surely. Was that leakage from Eddie Jordan? Or are we to defer to Marc Priestley's infinite insider F1 paddock knowledge? I don't know. He's saying that it's signed. Not concrete. Rumour mill always. Speculation and conjecture. But per his contacts, Adrian Newey might have already signed. And again, an interesting footnote that one Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton might have been instrumental as far as his management in tempting Adrian Newey over to Maranello, of course, the team where he'll be plying his trade as of next year. Oh, the humanity. Lewis got it done. Powerful contacts in high places. Lewis Hamilton was the sweetener in the Adrian Newey deal, just as Niki Lauda had been in his deal over to Mercedes in 2014. What are we doing? 2013 even. What are we doing? I'm happy. I am happy. The F1 is converging. If all of the aforementioned is true, then we're in for some exciting racing, right? Not just this year, next year and 2026 too. The F1 world waits and watches with bated breath while news of this Adrian Newey signing is pending. But you know where you heard it first, Marc Priestley F1 Elvis YouTube channel. Go and check him out. And again, finally, another footnote, Christian Horner. And I thought this was interesting. Priestley, again, insider. All F1 publications are created equally, but some are created more equally than others. I trust Priestley. Never been a million miles away as far as F1 news. And here's what he had to say about Horner. I cannot reveal what I heard about this circumstance, the allegations, but it's not finished. The Christian Horner fiasco is bubbling away in the background. Absence of evidence of this fiasco continuing is not evidence of absence. It's still continuing. There are ramifications. Max, I don't think, is too happy. Joss is still not happy. Helmut Marko, I don't think he's happy either. That Christian Horner, man who tried to leverage British financiers with a view to spin off all of Red Bull F1 technologies in his own image under his own stewardship. Skullduggerous any. What else would you expect from Christian Horner? But things are still going on in the background. And it is techie, Jay, since it means Mercedes has issues in order. And they still have that incredible engine. Then work on 26 and how you go from there. I think they are absolutely invested in that 2026 basket. That is their lot now, Jay. What else have they got to fight for now? What, pride? Nobody cares if them lot finish 6th or 7th. No. I think if there were ever a time that Mercedes, the boys and girls at Brackley and Brixworth, needed to focus on a year, this would be it. And 2026 would be that year, Leroy. Happy for Lewis. Needs a chance to get his 8th. Merc hasn't done that on that. Dropped the ball each and every single time, Leroy. We spoke about that ad infinitum. And we will touch on it again tonight, 8 p.m. British Standard Time on our, if I can even talk, Friday night stream. It's getting techie, Leroy. Walter, what's going on? Walter, I'm trying, mate. Trying. Need to be the gold standard out here, which necessitates an improvement. Need to be more regular. Need to be more industrious. Can't be the W13 of F1 content creators out here. Need to be market leading. The RB20. Purple sectors only. But you know what? Between now and 8 p.m. British Standard Time, I will leave it there. Of course, as always, but I digress.